What's going on, guys? This is Matt, and today's video is going to be a little bit different. Basically, this is going to be a follow-up video to a previous video I did called Forcing a Mac User to Build a PC. If you haven't seen that, link will be in the description down below. There were a lot of questions in the comment section I wanted to address with this video. The first thing a lot of people asked was, why did I pick that type of hardware? Why put budget hardware with such a nice case? Why AMD, etc., etc. The reason for any of those parts was because it's what I had on hand. Chris didn't keep that system. What happened was he built it, we checked if it turned on, which it did, and then I tore it down. So I'm actually going to be helping him build a system in the future, which I will be documenting on the channel, so subscribe if you want to see that. But that system he didn't keep. We just built it up to see if he could build a PC and then tore it down. So the second most common thing, which is actually what this video is centered around, is did the PC actually boot up? Now, there wasn't actually any footage of the PC booting up in that video, and that's because that footage got deleted. It was on a second SD card. That SD card got corrupted, so there wasn't any footage. Now, obviously, that's going to leave a lot of you skeptical because you saw that Chris was pretty rough with a lot of the hardware in that video. So I am a man of my word, so I thought what I'd do today is put that PC all back together and show you guys that it actually did boot up. So first what I'm going to do is go ahead and grab all of the hardware, put it on the table that the camera is sitting on, and then put it together and show you that it boot up. So let's go ahead and do that. Alright guys, so I actually have all of the hardware set out right now, and I'm not actually going to be using the original case that I did in the video. I'm going to be using the DIY test bench I made. I made a video about that a long time ago. I'll link it in the description down below if you guys want to see it, and if you want to see me make a more updated video about this, or make a video about making a DIY test bench like this, go ahead and leave that in the comment section down below. So what I'm going to be doing is just putting all of the parts together and showing you guys if the PC boots up. So I didn't really take any time to talk about the parts being used in the original video, so I thought I'd take a minute and tell you guys about what's actually being used. Now, in this build is an AMD 860K with an FM2 A88M Pro 3 motherboard. Now, this is an overclocking motherboard, and I'm also using 8GB of RAM with it. Now, for the GPU, this is an HD 7850 2GB. Now, this is going to be featured in a couple of upcoming videos, including a budget build and a comparison between 1 and 2GB of VRAM. So let me know which of those videos you'd like to see first. There is a 1TB Western Digital Blue hard drive, and this is just standard stuff, as well as a Cooler Master Hyper T4 cooler, I believe it is, and it actually uses the stock mounting system, which I enjoy a lot. I actually like the stock AMD mounting system better than the stock Intel mounting system. I've got some Noctua NT H1 thermal paste, as well as an EVGA 600 watt power supply, which I picked up for a really good deal at Best Buy. So what I'm going to be doing right now is taking the motherboard and CPU out of the box. The CPU is actually still in the motherboard for safe transport, and putting it onto the test bench. So let's get to that. There's all the standard stuff. I'm not going to use the IO shield for this just because this isn't going to be a completed build, so there's not that much of a reason to use it. So here is the motherboard with the CPU in it. Push this off to the side, pull this out in front. Now I'm just gonna go ahead and make sure to handle this by the edges. I know a lot of you guys got mad at Chris in the comments in that last video because he was handling everything directly by the PC be touching the pins, even on the CPU, and you guys were going crazy, which was hilarious. But PC hardware is a lot more durable than you guys might think, and that's part of what this video is about. So let's go ahead and install the motherboard. I'm just lining up all of the holes on the motherboard with the holes on the test bench. Now I'm going to go ahead and find a screw or two. I know I've got a couple lying around that will be able to screw into the motherboard. Now all I need is a screwdriver. 1 second. I'm back with a screwdriver, and now just going to use a couple of screws to secure the motherboard into place. And actually, one thing I forgot to mention as well is the RAM's actually already installed. I may just reseat that just to make sure it's seated well, but I'm gonna go ahead and screw this motherboard into place. Alright, so now that I've got a couple of the screws into place, I'm going to go ahead and put some thermal paste on and install the cooler. First, I'm just going to reseat all of this RAM to make sure that it's seated correctly, as well as I'll just reseat the CPU just to show you guys that it's seated correctly as well. So obviously with the RAM, you just line it up to the correct orientation and then click both sides into place of each stick, and it should snap right into place. With the CPU, there's a little lever arm. You just push that down, out, and then all the way up. It clicks up, and you can pull the CPU out, or in our case, because we're building this PC, we want to rest it into place, lining up the gold triangle with the triangle on the motherboard, and then closing the lever arm, and then the CPU is installed. Now, obviously, you definitely want to be using thermal paste. You guys got mad in the last video because we used the old thermal paste, but I'll be applying a little bit of new thermal paste just because I may actually test some stuff on the system. And before putting on new thermal paste, you want to remove the old thermal paste from the CPU and the heatsink. So I'm going to be using this quote-unquote lens cleaner, which really all it is an alcohol wipe, which is what we need to clean off the thermal paste. So I'm going to use it to clean off the CPU and the CPU cooler. So I'm just going to rub it around to get rid of the paste. Alright, so now that that's nice and clean, I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing on the CPU cooler, which is right here. Alright, so now that both of these surfaces are adequately cleaned, I'm going to go ahead and apply some new thermal paste onto the CPU. All you need is a pea-sized amount, which I hope I still have in this tube. Yes, I do. That's plenty right there. And then go ahead and close up the tube. We're going to take the cooler and make sure that it's mounted in such a way that the mounting hardware can be used. So I'm just going to go ahead and mount it like so. I'm going to line it up and drop it straight down. This should allow the thermal paste to make an even distribution across the CPU. Now all I have to do is grab the mounting hardware and mount this guy on. So AMD mounting hardware can be kind of tricky sometimes, but once you've done it once, you basically can do it again and again without any problems, without any troubles. It's just a little tricky to figure out the first time. So you just make sure the bracket is all lined up and then go ahead and switch. Oh crap. Alright, so that needs to be hooked on. There we go. Now make sure everything's lined up, and all you have to do is pull this lever over and down into place. Now this does take a lot of force. Sometimes it feels like you're kind of breaking it, but you're not. And the CPU cooler is installed. All I have to do now is plug in the CPU cooler to the CPU fan head, which I'm doing right now. And the CPU cooler is all installed. Now what I'm going to do is go ahead and install the GPU. Once again, this is an HD 7850 2GB, and what's nice about my test bench is I have this little bracket here, so I can quickly open and close the PCIe slots. So I'm just going to go ahead and leave this open and slot the card into place. So obviously you just want to make sure everything is lined up nice, and then you can just press it down into place. Alright, so now what I'm going to do is install the hard drive into the built-in hard drive caddy, making sure the SATA and power port is going in that way. So I should just be able to line this up and slide it in. And I could screw this into place with the designated mounting holes, but I'm going to be lazy today and not do that. Now what I'm going to do is go ahead and turn this right around and locate the SATA, wow, dang it. Okay, that's why you screw things in. But I'm going to put that back into place and locate the SATA data port and plug in the sour data into both the hard drive and the motherboard. Now that that's done, I'm going to go ahead and start plugging everything from the power supply in, as well as plug in the built-in power button on my test bench, so that we'll be able to power this up. And once I've done that, we should be ready to boot this thing up. So let's get to it. Alright, so everything is connected as it should be. So now all I have to do is grab a power cable and grab a monitor and show you guys that this thing does boot up. So I'm going to go ahead and grab those two things and I'll be right back. Alright guys, so now it is time for the moment of truth. I'm going to go ahead and switch on the power supply. Everything is hooked up, and unless Chris touched something and destroyed something in the last video, or I touched something and destroyed something in this video, this PC should theoretically boot up. So let's go ahead and do it. So fans are spinning right now. I'm going to go ahead and turn on the monitor and let's see if this thing actually boots. So Samsung logo, which is the monitor. Let's see, and boom. ASRock logo, spinny. Now this hard drive actually isn't the hard drive that was originally with all of this system, so I don't know if it'll boot right up into Windows. We'll see. I'm going to go ahead and let it do its thing and see if it will load into Windows, or at least load into the Windows splash screen, which would be a very good sign. So, time-lapse time. Go. Yes, thank you. So, as you can see, it booted right up into Windows. All of this hardware is working perfectly fine, even though Chris touched the pins on the CPU, touched the back of the motherboard, touched all of this stuff in a wrong way on carpet. I built it on carpet this time too. PC hardware is a lot more durable than a lot of you guys give it credit for. And don't just take my word for it. Look at someone like TechCity or TechCity's videos, who does a lot of stuff to hardware that people would think would absolutely destroy it. But at the end of the day, it's very durable. The PC booted up. So yeah, I think this wraps this video up. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a big thumbs up, as well as consider subscribing for more PC and tech related content in the future. And as always, this is Matt from Tech by Matt, signing out. Peace.